Hello, welcome to TV Bakwetu. This is Masheke Akashambatwa. I am so glad to be here, to be back with this segment of the roundtable discussion. And this is where we handle issues of public nature, issues of public debate. I want you to call someone. I want you to share this video because, as you know, my guest today is Ambassador Emmanuel Mwamba. If you guys know, first share this, gather here. When you gather here, go and get your children, your uncles, tell them Aka is online. Go and bring them here and tell them Aka is online and he has a special guest. And our special guest today is Ambassador Emmanuel Mwamba, and we'll be tackling the issue of Undola, dual carriageway, and the debate. We are going to rest all the debates. This is the debate of all the debates. So bring them on. Tell me where you're watching me from. You tell me where you're watching me from. As you join, tell me where you're watching me from. Chinyama Kakoma, thank you, welcome. Chinyama Kakoma, welcome. Where are you? Kabompo. See, I know my people from Northwestern. They are the first one here and they're the last one here. Thank you for joining, Chinyama Kakoma. Canada, Yotam Sichilima. Welcome, my brother. Canada is in the house. Where are the people from UK? I think UK has an internet outage. UK. My bundles, UK needs some bundles. Welcome. Sile, welcome. Ndola, Faith, welcome from Ndola. Imwe, do me a favor, share, because I have Ambassador Emmanuel Mwamba. It's going to be hot here. You gather here, bring all your children, your chickens, and everyone here. I'm ready for Ambassador Mwamba. We have been talking about this in Duo, in Dola Lusaka Road. This is the debate of the month. We are going to rest all the cases. I am going to make sure that Ambassador Mwamba understands what's going on. He is also going to present his case to the people of Zambia in this debate. And so, without wasting much of your time, tell me where you're watching me from. Niuze nikwamene mutambila so that mumvesese bwino vazona vazazikuna mani boza vantuko. Dual carriageway in Dola Lusaka. We are going to discuss real issues here. Let me introduce Ambassador Emmanuel Mwamba. By the way, Ambassador, let me tell you something. Honorable Gary Nkombo is watching you. He just says he's watching.
Wonderful.
Welcome, Honorable Gary.
Good evening, dear brother. Good evening, dear brother. Someone I respect. I think I love the way he does his politics.
Yes, he's a gentleman. He's a gentleman.
Yeah.
Ambassador, welcome to the table of fire. I call it the table of fire because this is where we bust out all the myths, all the innuendos, all the lies, and we go head to head here. We don't filter any truth. We tell the truth on this program. So I want to welcome you today to the round table debate and discussion. This is going to be a fair debate. And we are going to bring out facts. We are going to bring out what's going on. You, sir, have a lot of experience in government, and you, sir, have served the government for a while now, and I respect that. And your availability on this program has always been cherished. You are someone I can pick up a call and say, Ambassador, what's going on? And you explain to me what's going on. But also, I don't agree with you many times. but you are able to actually come back and say, my young brother, let's talk, let's discuss. And so for that reason, I respect you. And so just greet the people for now. And before, I have a series of questions I have to go through, and then we'll after that we'll go topic by topic. Good evening, Ambassador.
Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are in the world. Thank you very much. And Masheke, I'm grateful for this opportunity. I wish to apologize that we were unable to do a successful program 3 weeks ago. This was clearly beyond my measure. I apologize for that. To our dear audience, I'm Emmanuel Mwamba. I'll just give a brief background about myself. Many people remember me from the period I served former president, our second president of the Republic of Zambia. I ran his constitutional office of the second president. I didn't serve him when I was when he was in State House. I served him in retirement. So I have to make that very clear, because people then burden me with the issues of MMD. I served Dr. Chua for a period of 10 years as his spokesperson, his administrator. That was a position of a deputy permanent secretary. In 2011, I was privileged that President Michael Sata gave me a job as permanent secretary. He made me permanent secretary in Northern Province, permanent secretary in Eastern Province, permanent secretary in Western Province. I was also permanent secretary at Ministry of Information and Broadcasting Services. There are footprints and legacies that were left there. Recently, in the last 7 years, I've served as Zambia's High Commissioner to South Africa, and then recently as Zambia's ambassador to Ethiopia, permanent representative to the African Union, and permanent representative to the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa. Many people wonder why I discuss economic matters, like Aka, who's an economist. Is because of my huge familiarity in South Africa and in Ethiopia over African economies, multilateral institutions, and their operations the last 60 years in Africa.
Ambassador, that is a rich profile. That is a rich profile. You have a lot of experience. You bring a lot of experience to the political discourse in Zambia, and we respect that. I think your name is not strange to many people that follow politics in Zambia. And let's begin and let's move on. This is a hot topic, and I want to go straight to it. The Dollar Lusaka dual carriageway. You have been in the forefront talking about this issue. You have made many assertions that are numerous to count. You have actually made it very clear that you do not support the model now, the model that the UPND government has used to fund and operationalize this particular project. What is the problem? Tell me. Now, I'm going to tell you what I think as a financial economist and a data scientist. I'm going to tell you what I think. But what I want to find out from you, let's lay the groundwork here. What is your bone of contention? What is your bone of contention?
Yeah. So, a brief background. This project has been in the works since President Rupia Ban DRC between South Africa and DRC, especially after the collapse of the industrial and manufacturing bases in Zimbabwe and Zambia. The traffic from South Africa, I think, is what dominates this road. There was tremendous progress that was made under President Michael Sata when they started to look at this. And the project's works, as RGO said, was envisaged to cost $1.2 billion. Many people mock that. Tilted a dual carriageway from Ndola to Lusaka with frontage roads. You know, frontage roads are those roads that accompany the main road. It also envisaged industrial cities at Chivombo and Masaiti. It also envisaged the Luansha Fisenge Masangano road. Remember the shortcut if you are going to Quito without passing through Ndola. That is a famous Fisenge route. It was also to be made into a dual carriageway. RDA threw in their project of a 5-story building, and then the towns along the way demanded for bypasses and township roads. So there was an addition of 160 kilometers of township road in Kabwe, in Kapiri, Ndola, and Luansha. The road itself was $700 million. The extra amenities that I've talked about were $500 million, hence the $1.2 billion. In 2019, when the PF government was pursuing the IMF program, remember there was a debt analysis that was done, and we found to be debt distressed. And the IMF and also the Minister of Finance advised that we needed to abandon some of the projects. You will remember that projects that were at 80% and below were halted, and projects that were in the pipeline were also where financing and even in some cases secured were halted. For the Lusaka Ndola dual carriageway, because of its importance, there was an agreement that the amenities, the extra development that were being proposed, the township roads of 160 kilometers, the 2 industrial cities at Masaiti and Chibombo, the RDA building or 5-story building should be done away with. We should just remain with the core function of the road. The road was pegged at $700 million. There is another dimension. When I served as Zambia's ambassador, Zambia's High Commissioner to South Africa, on the day that Zambian government was flagging off, when President Edgar Lungu was flagging off this road, I received very senior government officials, 1 from State House from South Africa and 2 from Ministry of Transport in South Africa. And they carried with them these executives from a South African company called Group 5. Now, Group 5 was awarded when the contract was advertised in 2015. They had done a feasibility study and had pegged the road at $500 million. They had proceeded to mobilize finances with Development Bank of South Africa and, lucky enough, pension funds as well, PIC, in South Africa. And they were ready to take up this road. So they were shocked to learn that their contract was suddenly cancelled, and that's why they were in my office, and that the road was being being commissioned with a Chinese firm. So I began to track this matter from that time in 2017. So my familiarity and knowledge about this matter can be traced back to 2017. I think that's a good foundation to start with.
That's very good. That's a very good foundation. But let's come to the nitty-gritties of what's happening now. Let's say your party, Patriotic Front, wanted to do this road at $1.2 billion. Let's lay the foundation first, right? The PF wanted to do this road at 1.2 billion. 1.2 billion. Now,
will you add the scope?
No,
the scope is important.
Yes. I'm coming to the scope. Okay, there is the issue of scope here, right? The scope was higher. Okay, the scope under PF, according to what you're saying, was higher, and we agree on that. No debate, right? Let's look at UPND. UPND is doing this road at about what? 700 billion, right? Not billion, but million. Let's be clear here.
Yes.
About 700 million. Right? Now let's go back to what you just said. Because I want to make sure that you and I are on the same page. You said that PF when the IMF did the debt stress on the country, they said we were highly indebted, we were highly leveraged, right? That's what we use, that's the word we use in financial economics. So therefore, borrowing further by the PF was not a prudent thing to do. Borrowing more from either from the Chinese, from IMF, or even in the financial markets was not a good idea. They advised the PF government, they advised the President Lungu's government, don't borrow for further projects. And I think this is one of the projects that was actually affected by those discussions. And so what had happened,
so on that, on that,
let me finish.
On that,
that's where you can come in. Let me finish. Okay. That's where you can come in and address all my issues. Now, what had happened was that, okay, now we can't borrow further. Okay, we can't borrow further. Therefore, the issue of scope doesn't, by events can't come in at this point. So the UPND, let's fast forward, the UPND takes over government. And they look at this project, they re-look at this project, they realize, look, we can't go to the capital markets, we can't go to the Chinese, we can't go to the IMF, right? We are still under debt distress. We haven't come out of that. We are still under debt distress. So, as smart as he is, the president of the Republic of Zambia, President Hakainde Hichilema, charges the Minister of Infrastructure, Charles Milupi, and say, and the Minister of Finance says, go and look at alternative ways on which we can fund this project, because it's important to national development. And so then they come up with a public-private partnership, and they said we can do it under this model, and we can actually fund this from within. As Zambians, we can fund this project ourselves. And so they began to look at models. Let's fast forward to today. We signed a consortium, or a concession for 22 years. And here we are. The project is taking off. And we're about to have a dual.
Let me pick it up from there.
Which your party failed.
Let me pick it up from there.
Yes.
Aka, this is my program, Aka. Let me pick it up from there. Number one, after the debt distress program, the program was revised. 2 cabinet decisions, and they are on record, were made on the Lusaka and Ndola dual carriageway. Number one, that it was to be scaled down to $700 million. In 2019, we should make that very clear. 2019, the road was scaled down to $700 million. Another issue was that this was now going to be a public-private partnership program because of our debt situation. So those 2 decisions were made in 2019. $700 million and public-private partnership. And the contractor was Chinese, and the Chinese contractor then was tasked to pursue financing. Remember, even the $6.5 billion we owe China is because of project financing. And you know, than anybody else, how project financing works is that the Chinese government, unless they are giving you an outright loan, but if they are giving you under project financing, it comes with a contractor. We have seen even under other multilateral and financial institutions, they also like doing that. When, for example, the Swedish give you a power project, they will likely give a Swedish company to do the power project. So that's how the Chinese create employment, create support for their own people and their own economy. It's a selfish approach. So this was going to be a PPP, and the Chinese contractor was going to secure financing from China and do the road. Where are my objections on this particular latest concession agreement? First of all, the presence of NAPSA and workers' Compensation Fund Board. The presence of two of our public pension funds is a matter of concern. So NAPSA and Workers' Compensation Fund Board, Workers' Compensation Fund Board. That's where our concerns are. Is this a PPP? Well, I can refer you to the Public-Private Partnership Act of 2020. I can refer you to guidelines of PPP projects by the World Bank, as parameters. You, than anybody else, know that the World Bank have raised flags on public-private partnership programs. Because first of all, to get any financing across the world, the country might likely guarantee such a loan by releasing a sovereign guarantee. So they are concerned because not all contractors are honest. Secondly, there is a tendency, for example, I'll give you the Johannesburg-Pretoria Highway, where it was done under public-private partnership, and citizens are supposed to pay through an e-tolling mechanism. And citizens rose and refused to pay. In the end, the public treasury has taken up that fee, and they're the ones paying on behalf of citizens. So World Bank is very clear, and you should read about it. There are various concerns of these PPPs. So there are guidelines and things not to do. This current PPP project falls exactly.
Let me respond very quickly on that issue.
Okay.
When you talk about a public partnership project, in this particular case involving NAPSA and the Workers' Compensation Fund Board, let me explain what those means. Those, and I'll ask you a question. Those two institutions, though being established under the Act of Parliament, they themselves are funds. Let's make a distinction. You cannot compare NAPSA and Workers' Compensation Fund to ZESCO. There's a difference. And the difference is this is a fund. These are two entities are funds. And therefore, let me make very clear. Their role in the economy and in the public space is to invest those contributions that employees make over time, so that when they retire, money is available for them. So you can say,
fair enough, Aka.
Let me finish.
No, Aka. We are speaking the same language. Let me make it very clear. No. Let me make it very clear. No. Wait, because you'll be conducting a lecture. It is public knowledge. Yeah. It is public knowledge that NAPSA has a special purpose vehicle, NAPSA Investment, which then invests in various investments. It has shopping malls. It has property. It recently invested in the Livingstone bus terminus. Okay. It recently invested in the Kitwe Chingola dual carriageway. We should make things very, very clear.
Very clear, yes.
NAPSA can invest. Workers' Compensation Fund Board can invest in the contributions of their members. What is wrong in this case, Aka, is that there's an attempt to make NAPSA and Workers' Compensation Fund Board as banks where they will loan. Let me finish my thoughts. They will loan this so-called macro ocean investment, and there's a proposal that $300 million will come from NAPSA and $100 million will come from Workers' Compensation Fund Board. And that's where our objection is. These are public entities. This is not a PPP as defined by our laws, as guided by World Bank. The public-private partnership is simply that. You have a public entity looking for a public utility, but you are constrained because of social and economic issues. You might not have money like we do not have. You contract a private partner who comes with their own financing, in which then you do that public utility. And there's a recovery period, whether the concession agreement gives you 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, or 25 years. There's an agreement. You cannot have in this case.
Listen, Ambassador. This here, you are conflating the two things. There is NAPSA and workers' compensation funds. These are pension funds.
Of course.
They are not. Now, I want us to make sure we are telling the people the truth. There's a difference between a pension fund and treasury. Okay? Now, when
clear.
Let me make sure. When you say we as a government, because you said this on your page, we as a government are the ones investing in this road. No, we are not. We are not. When you look at things in a technical way, listen, let me just explain my point, then you can come in.
Okay. You know, we have a mass audience. Let's not descend into technicalities. It's very clear.
No, these are
it's very clear. NAPSA, Workers' Compensation Fund Board, are created by acts of parliament. They are public bodies. The president appoints a board. The president appoints a chair. The president appoints, his board appoints executive director. The executive has huge influence on these entities. Like they are in this way, bullish in approach, literally in directing these entities, because they are public entities. These hold public funds, public pension. You understand? They are not like your PIC in South Africa, which is the largest private fund, where a pension fund holds private funds. They are not Satunia Regina.
You're conflating.
We should be very clear.
No, you're conflating things, Ambassador. Listen, when my company in Zambia that I own contributes to NAPSA towards that, that's not government money. That's the money.
Who sets up the board?
Who
appoints the board?
No, let's go back to what you're talking about.
Who appoints the board?
Let's go.
Who controls the fund?
You are saying, you are saying.
Is it controlled by you?
No, that is not. Let me tell you, that's my money. When I contribute to NAPSA, that's my money. That's why now, by law, I can draw from that money if I want to. That's my money. Government can't stop.
No. You know, there's another matter. Like I said, we will descend into technicalities. It is very clear. Look at my objection. Look at my objection.
I am not saying.
Number one.
Yeah.
If you want NAPSA to invest in the Lusaka Ndola Geo Carriageway, let NAPSA do that. NAPSA, like I've demonstrated, can go with any contractor. They can build the roads. They own shopping malls. They can own this road for the duration of the concession agreement. In this case, NAPSA is not in the mix. In case you have not read the documents, NAPSA is just a lender. It is lending to macro oceans, $300 million, and Workers' Compensation Fund, $100 million. Their period ends. They'll just put it on interest and they'll be paid. By the way, after. Why we have concerns? There's another DA feasibility study that was done in 2015 that pegs this road at $100 million a year. We must be very clear. That document, just a minute. It is that document that motivated the establishment of public tolls, because government for the first time realized that there was so much money going on without being collected. We set up the public tolls because we recognized that, in fact, it was at something like $200 million for the major economic roads. But for this road alone, $100 million.
Who manages the toll funds?
NRFA, National Road Fund Agency.
Exactly, National Road Fund.
Yeah.
Now, let me tell you, did you know that in 2020, under your party, PF. Did you know that in 2020, and go to their website, you're going to pull that report, the 2020 National Road Fund Agency report stated, and I quote, 20% of their construction projects that they did, they actually borrowed money from NAPSA. So why is it okay for the PF, when they were in power, to use 20% of their fund under National Road Fund Agency and borrow from NAPSA? Why is that different from this one?
No, it's when they were doing the Chingola Kitwe dual carriageway, when NAPSA provided the financing.
What is wrong with that?
Okay, we should be very clear. It's a Kitwe Chingola dual carriageway where NAPSA invested, and when NRFA collects it, pays back. It's a proper agreement. NAPSA has not lost any money. NAPSA is recovering its investment.
Right. That's what they're supposed to do, Ambassador. NAPSA is supposed to invest. When they invest in projects that they think they're going to get a profit out of, they're supposed to put money there. It doesn't matter where they put it, as long as the board agrees that they're going to take a return on behalf of pensioners. That's what NAPSA does. So they did it under PF in 2020. They did it under PF in 2020. They invested in the Chingola Mutanda Road. They have done it
with NRFA and RDA. You should complete your sentence. So here is the issue. Here is the issue with here is the problem. You pick Chinese firms, and these are state-owned enterprises from China. These are government-owned companies. We should be very clear. Okay, so there's no there's no private partner there. First of all, AVIC is a state-owned enterprise from China. Number two, you in a proper PPP, we are supposed to ask AVIC and the other three companies to look for financing, not to raid our treasury, not to raid our public pension funds. These four companies must go to China to go and get the loan. But you know why they will not get it? You know why they will not get it? You know why they can't get it?
No, you don't.
You know why they won't get the loan?
Can't go to China. It's expensive. It's expensive. The interest, listen, Ambassador, when you go and borrow in the foreign market, when you go to internal funding, you, Ambassador, has been the proponent of solving our own problems, of solving
with local solutions,
using our own solutions. The UPND government has said we are going to use our own resources. We are going to use our own resources. We are also going to use our own companies. So what the UPND has done is that they have sourced locally the funds. Now, let me tell you where the difference is. NAPSA is a fund. It's not a construction company. Okay, it's not a construction company. That's not its expertise. What NAPSA and Workers' Compensation Fund Board can do is invest as they have done. They have invested in a consortium. Now, who does the investment?
I think you are not listening. No, I think you are not listening. Aka, you're not listening. I made it very clear that NAPSA and Workers' Compensation Fund Board can invest. I stated that NAPSA have a special purpose vehicle in which they own shopping malls, they own property. They recently built the Livingston bus terminal and they are operating it. They invested in the Kitwe Chingola dual carriageway. If we want to use NAPSA funds, NAPSA can contract any contractor, including ZNS. By the way, ZNS, just a minute, just listen to me. Just listen to me, Aka, for a minute. ZNS have the best equipment in this country than any public or private company, in case you didn't know. Because the PF in the last 4 or 5 years invested heavily. There was an attempt to migrate public works to ZNS. As I'm telling you now, ZNS have the best construction equipment in this country.
Why didn't PF do it?
They lost power in 2021. They lost power in 2021.
No.
Because this investment occurred.
You had 10 years.
No. This investment is in ZNS occurred the last 4 or 5 years before they left office. Number two, you have adequate local companies. Zambians have been complaining about large-scale projects that go to the Chinese. Why would you want to give a $700 million project to the Chinese and you call it? Where will they take their profits? You think they'll leave it here?
No.
If you want NAPSA to invest, let's go with your thoughts. You are saying there's nothing wrong with NAPSA investing in this project. Let us agree.
Yes.
So why pick 4 Chinese companies? Where are your local companies?
Why not?
Why not? You be externalizing our local resources. You be externalizing our. No, you will. Where does a foreign company take its profits, Aka?
No, that's
Where does a foreign company take its profits?
That is not true. That is not true. Have you read the concession agreement?
The concession agreement is very clear. It's been given to macro ocean investment. Macro ocean investment. Just a minute, Aka. Just a minute. Macro ocean investments. The tabulation has been done. There are 4 Chinese companies there. In case you haven't read.
Okay, let's go back to the 4th Chinese company. Let's look at the scope of work. We are talking about the Ndola-Lusaka dual carriageway. Tell me, every time we talk, Ambassador, we must be truthful to the people of Zambia. We are
exactly
about running a country here. When you talk about the project of Ndola-Lusaka dual carriageway, the magnitude of that project requires expertise, requires that we do it the right way, requires that our investments, we get a positive return on our investments. You can't just say no people, Zambian companies, because it's for Zambians. You have to look
at don't Aka, don't go there. Don't insult Zambians. No. Don't insult Zambian companies. For me, I always refuse. I have commissioned great works done by Zambians. Let's remove the stigma against Zambian contractors. Let us remove the stigma against Zambian contractors. Can we agree?
Listen, Zambians are great people. Zambians have so much capacity, all right? But that capacity has limitations, Ambassador. Let's be
because you don't give it work. You want to give the Chinese work. You want to give South African companies work. Where will the capacity come from?
Your party has been giving Chinese investors in Zambia to run chicken runs in compounds. Your party.
So before we lose our thoughts, so we have a guideline.
I want to follow.
The Zambia, we have guidelines. The Zambia the Public Procurement Act of 2020, I think sections 38 is very clear. All large-scale projects must be given to Zambians. It's now law. It's no longer speculation. It says from any charge of the national budget, you need to give Zambians. This government has been circumventing that law by doing emergency procurement and direct bidding. Okay, but let's come to the main issue, the PPP project. Let's come to the main issue.
The Zambians themselves know. The Zambians themselves know this project is needed in the country. It's a very important project. It's an important
without
project.
a doubt.
We cannot wait. Ambassador, we can't wait for another 5 years to do that road.
Can I give you an alternative? Many people speak to alternatives. Can I give you an alternative?
What is your alternative?
Let NAPSA, leave this project to NAPSA. NAPSA has adequate resources.
But
they can hire the 4 contractors. Let me give the alternative. Let me give the alternative. Let me give the alternative. You are assuming that Zambian contractors don't have capacity. Of course, something I have rejected. But let's agree with you, just with your assertion. Let NAPSA hire these contractors. Within 3 years, they'll finish the Lusaka dual carriageway, and their job should end and you give them the cost of constructing that road. Let NAPSA and its agency then run the Lusaka Geocarriageway for 22 years. Why do you want NAPSA to lend the Chinese money and then the Chinese run the company run the road for 22 years? So the alternative I'm giving you is, if this government is sincere about using local resources, capacitating NAPSA, let this be the way Livingstone bus terminal, it belongs to NAPSA. The way the shopping malls belong to NAPSA. They totally belong to NAPSA. They got a contractor, whether it was Group 5, whether it was China Geo, they built and they were paid and they left. If you have seen this concession agreement, NAPSA is a money lender. It gives these four companies.
It's a fund. That's what I've been
saying. No. It's a money lender. Have you seen the structure of the PPP? Have you seen the structure of the PPP? It's a money lender. NAPSA gives these companies $300 million. Workers' Compensation Fund gives them $100 million. They will pay back. And looking at the traffic volume of that road, they will likely pay back in 4 years. NAPSA will not make a loss. NAPSA will get some small money. NAPSA will get some small money.
Let's make sure we are putting things in perspective. The NAPSA fund is a fund. Okay, it's a fund, and the fund invests in projects that have a return. That's a basic creation of a fund. Okay, workers' compensation.
NAPSA.
You can't be correct.
That's why I'm filling your gaps. NAPSA is not part of the consortium.
Let me finish.
No. The way the project has been structured. No. The way the project has been structured, NAPSA is not part of the consortium. The Minister of Finance today issued a statement. It's in the public press. He said Macro Ocean Consortium will run this project for 22 years. Even now, I challenge you, go to Honorable Milupi's page just now. See what he has said. Go to Honorable Milupi's page now. He says they will run this project for the next 22 years because the construction period is 3 years. Who is Macro?
Investments. Investments. The fund is an investor.
But I thought that's why I've been referring you to the laws. I'm saying you're not listening. I'm saying if the consortium wishes to get local money, let them go to the banks.
Ambassador,
okay?
Investments. NAPSA is an investor, bosses. NAPSA is an investor. They don't.
No, he's not in this PPP. He's not an investor. I think you're not understanding. It's not an investor. Go to Milupi's page now. The road will be run by Macro Ocean for the next 22 years. Who forms Macro Ocean?
No one is refusing that. No one is refusing that.
Who is Macro Ocean? Is NAPSA there?
They are going to build the road using.
Who is Macro Ocean Investment? Is NAPSA there?
No. That's what I was saying. You have to understand what NAPSA is doing. NAPSA has funds that
come on, Aka. You should listen to yourself. I made it very clear. Listen, I made it very clear that NAPSA, I tabulated, let me repeat in case you didn't hear again. NAPSA can invest money. I made it very clear. NAPSA can. NAPSA has investment. It owns shopping malls, properties. It owns other public infrastructure.
So what
for now, they have long leases. It can invest. I told you that NAPSA is as a special purpose vehicle called NAPSA Investments, in which investment and decisions are done. In relation to the Lusaka and Ndola dual carriageway, NAPSA is not playing an investment role. It's playing a role of a lender. The macro ocean investment.
Why do you lend money? Why do you lend money?
That's not it, wrong. Let them go to money lenders. The banking and financial are clearly stipulated. They can go to banks and to financial institutions. The role of NAPSA is a public pension. That's so. It can invest members' contributions according to how they see that the funds are viable. In this case, let me reiterate, like you are not listening. In the structure of the agreement, details released so far, NAPSA is acting as a lender. They will release $300 million to macro ocean investment. Macro ocean investment will then build the road and run it for 22 years.
What?
Just a minute. Just a minute.
Okay. Mwalanda, Chamfuika, macro ocean investments will do what? Will build. Will build. That's a key word there. Build. Macro. You have said it yourself. Macro consortium will build the road. Will build the road and operate. NAPSA.
Supposed to be a BOT. It's supposed to be a BOT.
NAPSA will not build. NAPSA is giving the money. The only reason why someone gives you a loan is for the purpose of generating interest on that money. It's
NAPSA is not a money. It's not a money lender. It's not a bank. It's not ACA. Sometimes you who's supposed to know better as an economist know.
No, but that's what I'm telling you.
Yeah, so let me make it very clear. NAPSA is not a banking and financial institution. It is not.
Do you understand that? Do you understand that me as ACA, I can come to Zambia to Dr. Msokotwane's office and say, I want to put money in a PPP and gain interest. Does that make me a bank? Does that make me a bank?
Because you are giving basic, basic examples. We have Mikarile, he lent the Zambian government $300 million. There's nothing wrong with that. But let us be very clear.
But it's wrong when
Workers' Compensation Fund. They are not. Can I finish my thoughts? 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 NAPSA and Workers' Compensation Fund Board are not banking and financial institutions. In fact, they have an independent regulator. Can I finish? They have an independent regulator. They belong to a group of pensions and insurance. You know that. Even their regulator.
Everywhere, pension funds everywhere in the world, including here in the United States of America, invest in projects in order to make money for the pensioners.
But we agreed. We agreed. And there's a structure in which that is done. Let me repeat, Walker. I am saying, in the Lusaka and Dollar dual carriage, NAPSA is not playing a role of an investor. It's playing a role of a lender, like a bank. These colleagues under macro ocean investment want $300 million from NAPSA. They want $100 million from NAPSA. If our public objection works, they will even go and look for this money elsewhere. We should be very clear. It may not even be with NAPSA. It may not even be with Workers' Compensation Fund. Their job is to look for money. Because remember, they are the private partner in this public partnership. So they are going to look for money for one reason or another. The people at the top know.
If I come to you and say, Ambassador, you have a project you are running. Okay, you approach me and say, hey, I can now $10 million in your account. Would you please give me this $5 million so they can work on this? I'll pay you $7.5 million. What am I? Am I a bank or an investor?
Okay, let me repeat. I'll keep on repeating myself. Let's take Levy more. Let's take Levy more.
Am I an investor or am I a bank?
And add volume, I really can't hear you, but let me make it very clear. NAPSA wants to invest in Zambia National Building Society. What was required was $100 million. Okay, so they invest in the Zambia National Building Society building and provide with National Building Society an amount of $100 million. They hired Group 5 to make. They made the specification and hired Group 5. Group 5 were done. They built a beautiful hotel, Hilton Hotel. That property remains owned by NAPSA and Zambia National Building Society. In this case, like I'm telling you, and let me repeat, if you want to use the funds from NAPSA and you want to call and justify that NAPSA can invest, allow NAPSA to make decisions. NAPSA can hire any contractor who can build this in the next 2 years and let NAPSA then collect the toll fees for the next 25 years, which is projected to be at $2.7 billion.
Macro concession
there is no other way. Maybe we are being polite, we are being diplomats. Because NAPSA has no say. NAPSA will give them $300 billion. They will build, and within 3 years, they will pay back NAPSA. For the next 18 years, they'll be minting. They'll mint this $2.7 billion. If you want NAPSA to invest there, let NAPSA drive the project. Let NAPSA pick the contractor. We can pick anyone, Velos, China Joe, we can pick anyone to do the road. When they are done, we can pay them whatever the contracting fees were. They can deliver that project to us. NRIFA, National Road Fund Agency, can run that road and collect the toll fees. At the moment, per year, we are collecting $120 million from the public toll. And I provided on my page the document from Parliament. We are raising $120 million. Before macro ocean come in, this country is earning $120 million from public toll.
Calm down. Let's lower it. I love my older brother. Mfeni, Ambassador. No, now I'm debating. What the bottom line is, the road will be built. The bottom line is that the people of the Copper Belt are appreciating this project. Your party, PF, never did it. Your party never proposes alternatives. Your party wanted to go to China to borrow money to come and build this road. The UPND government has found resources within. No matter how that looks like, we can debate here all day. The bottom line is that the UPND government has sourced funds internally, and they're going to build the road. And they're going to use the same model for Sesheke Lusaka Road, for Mokambo Mufurira Road, and many other projects like that. But let me quickly, let me quickly ask you.
There was a huge announcement, Aka. There was a huge announcement with fanfare. There was a huge announcement with fanfare over the Western route, priced at $3.7 billion. This was in August 2021. Honorable Milupi held this huge press conference, and he announced that he had found a private partner who was going to do the roads for $3.7 billion. If you remember, I objected very strongly. In that partnership, I told them it was not going anywhere because they had picked an NGO. I said the NGO has no capacity.
No, listen, what the minister is doing right now, what the minister and the government is doing is look for alternatives. You yourself have said Zambia is highly indebted. Zambia is very leveraged in terms of debt. We can't go to the debt market.
In your mind, a PPP project has no impact on the treasury.
Hold on.
In your mind, the PPP project has no impact on the treasury. Come on, Aka. We can't argue about the basics. In many cases, for a PPP to succeed, the private partner sometimes you have to give them a sovereign guarantee. You know,
we are building a road.
don't put it that they'll look for money outside government.
Ambassador,
no.
We are building a road. You didn't build it as a PF. We are building it.
I was outside the country for 7 years. If you want to bring the politics of PF, it won't work. I thought we could discuss the merit of this case. I thought we could discuss the public-private partnership. I thought between you and me, we should agree what a public-private partnership is under the Zambian laws, under as defined by both World Bank and Africa Development Fund. This project is not a PPP. This project, Aka, is a scam. It is not a PPP. A PPP is clear. We agree on how a PPP can be done. And let me reiterate, if you want NAPSA to invest in this project, allow NAPSA to hire contractors. It has capacity to raise the money that's required. Let them hire contractors. Within 2 years, pay the contractors as they go away. NAPSA can run this project like they are doing Livingstone Road, Livingstone bus terminal, like they are running shopping malls.
Ambassador, NAPSA, you have quoted the law yourself. You have quoted the law. NAPSA invests. It's a fund, Ambassador. NAPSA can't run itself, can't build a road. It has to get someone else who can build a road. And that's what I'm saying. So when you start talking about, let NAPSA does this, they've done it already. What else do you want? They've done it.
No, they haven't done it. I will repeat. NAPSA is being made as a money lender in this project. That is not the role of NAPSA. NAPSA is not a bank. NAPSA is not a financial institution.
No.
The banking and financial institutions does define who should blend in the structure that this government of serious economists, I can't teach them economists. They know it. They know it. They even know what they are doing is a fraud. They know it.
No, listen, be gracious to your colleagues. Their colleagues have done it. No,
we will not allow them to steal. We will not allow them to steal. I never allowed the PF to steal. I used to speak about issues. I'm on record. You can go to my page. I've cited a very big case, the Zesco case with South Africa. I wrote it in 2019.
Ambassador,
I fight corruption, whether in the previous government or in this government. We should make it very clear. I was not president. I was not cabinet minister. I couldn't stop certain things. But I spoke out. Like I'm speaking out on this project. This is not a public-private partnership. It is not. It is purporting to be.
Do we have the private sector in this involved?
No, we don't. Because the contractors, the private sectors are contractors.
No, they're going, those people are
no, they're contractors. They're not a private partner.
No. What I'm asking,
they're not a private partner. They are contractors.
No, this is a consortium. It's a private sector consortium. It's not government. Is macro a private? It's not. It's a private sector consortium that has gone to NAPSA and borrowed money from NAPSA and said, invest here. We are going to agree.
There are two parties that signed. Let's identify them.
Who
signed? On one side, there are two parties that signed.
Who signed?
On one side, the Minister of Finance. Who signed on the other party? Macro Ocean Investment Consortium. So government,
Ambassador Apopene, the macro consortium,
yes.
Let me conquer. Consortium, is this a government entity?
They are contractors.
No. You're not answering it. Is this a government?
So
entity?
Who's Macro Ocean? First of all, before last week.
Ambassador Apa.
Let's break it down. Let's break it down.
Minister signed, the consortium signed. No man day pushane. Who is this?
Yeah.
Is this a government? Is this a government of Zambia?
So let me answer it this way. It's not a yes and no answer. Let me answer this way. Macro ocean investment doesn't exist until last week. We became known. Even if you Google it, it doesn't exist. But here is what government has told us who macro investment is. Is it a private entity? No, just a minute. Just a minute, Jaka. It says, right, number one is AVIC. Let's what forms the consortium? Let's list what forms the consortium. AVIC International. Yeah. Is AVIC a Chinese state-owned enterprise? Lemba bikiwe wabashani lemba. Lemba Zhenjiang Communications. Another state-owned enterprise from China.
Zambia is a private entity.
Lemba China Railway. China Railway.
Okay. Number me pushe. Namu pusha. Lemba pa. Are they government of Zambia entity?
They are state-owned enterprises from China.
No. Are they Zambian government entity? Oh, Zambian government yapa.
I've answered you. They are Chinese-owned companies.
They are private entities.
And they are here as contractors.
They are, listen.
Aka, we don't make progress. We don't make progress. Listen. We don't make progress that way. Aka, look.
We have made a lot of
progress. We don't make progress. We don't make progress. My point is, if those were private partners, let us assume they're private partners. Let us assume they're private partners. You want them to be private partners. You want them to be private partners. What is the role in a public-private partnership? What is the role of the private sector?
To make business and to make money and to create employment.
That's why you have those, models, like we started the project of how a PPP is done. There's a BOT, because this one is purporting to be a BOT. Okay, build, operate, and after 25 years, you transfer back to the state. BOT. They want to build and operate. How do they want to build and operate? By getting money from NAPSA, the Zambian public entity.
No. Don't worry where they're getting the money. Are they private? Is what we are asking.
Yeah, we shouldn't allow them to get from NAPSA, because if you want to show that they are getting money from NAPSA, NAPSA is investing. NAPSA is investing in them.
Ambassador, you are leaving the core debate here. The core debate you brought up yourself. You said on one side the minister signed, on the other side the consortium. So in another side, Pushanati, we say consortium. Is it private or government?
It's private. To your understanding, it is private.
Yeah, that's what makes it a private public partnership. That's it. Now, let me move on, Ambassador, to a very important topic that you have been propagating in the last. And there's a lot of people watching today. Ministers are here and they are listening. And so, what I want to do today, I want to address that issue vividly, very well. And that's the issue of ACC. That's the issue of ACC.
Aka, did you reduce your volume? Just increase your volume a bit.
Okay, hold on. I'm doing that now. Can you hear me now?
Okay.
So what I'm saying, Ambassador, is you have been saying that the Anti-Corruption Commission is investigating you, and you called out President Hakainde Hichilema as someone who is instigating the investigation. Ambassador, do you have any evidence for that?
Yeah, it's very clear. As soon as he came in office, President Hakainde Hichilema transferred these oversight institutions, the reporting structures were taken to State House. There are about 17 of them, which includes the Judicial Service Commission, the Judicial Complaints Commission, law enforcement agencies, including the Anti-Corruption Commission. That's number one. And in the manner of operation, it has been very clear that they've been used as tools of oppression, as tools to harass the opposition, as tools to make the president is making us go through what he went through. And remember, he had pledged that he would never allow state law enforcement agencies to be used and abused in the manner that he claims were abused under the PF. He's done that very well.
Okay, Ambassador. Let me remind you very, very clearly. In 2017, you, in fact, I don't know if it's 2017 or 2009, one of the two, when you were a High Commissioner to South Africa, either South Africa or Ethiopia, you reported the Dr. Sishushwa for writing what you called seditious materials about Zambia. You remember that, right?
It was 2020.
2020. Thank you for
and
that.
It was Dr. Sishua.
Yes, Sishua. Okay.
Not Liswaniso.
No, I didn't say Liswaniso. I said the Sishua. And so what I'm saying is, when you reported him for seditious material, that gentleman was not producing seditious material, but he was expressing himself on political issues of Zambia. How can you turn around? And then secondly, before you answer, in I think 2017, when President Hakainde Hichilema was locked up, and he complained that President Lungu and the state institutions were abusing the powers of the police and the legal system, you wrote very strongly against that. You said, no, the government is not interfering in the prosecution of President Hakainde Hichilema. How then can you turn around today and say, no, State House and government is actually interfering in the work of state law enforcement agencies? How is that possible? Why? So last time, in fact, they were not interfering, isn't it? Or they were interfering, in other words. So President Lungu and your party was interfering in the prosecution of President Hakainde Hichilema, at the time opposition leader, in that case, right?
Oh, it's very simple. Let me start with the case of Sishua. He wrote a piece that Zambia, was likely going to go to war after the January 2021 elections. I wrote a strong, because that piece was published internationally, I wrote a counter to it, and I said, look, Sishua knows our country. We have durable institutions. We've changed leaders. In 1991, when Kaunda was even far stronger than he is, we changed government. An opposition leader again won in Michael Sata. And I said, even if you were to win in 2021, an opposition leader to win, I don't think Zambia will go to war. And then I accused him that, looking at his standing, looking at his professional standing, I accused him that either he was bought to offer a peace like that, or I doubted his professional integrity on that matter. So he was offended, because I said, look, to impugn that we go to war, I said that was sedition. So this is a matter we have closed, so I don't want to reopen wounds. I have to be very careful.
No.
So Sishua was very aggrieved with me. Yeah. He said, just a minute, listen from me. He said, I doubted his professionalism and had accused him that he was bought by any other person. And because of his professional standing, remember, he teaches in Cape Town and at the University of Zambia, that assault on his integrity didn't take it very well. Mm-hmm. So he sued me. And I'm glad that we settled that matter when we came back. I approached him that we could end this matter, and he accepted. And he said if I could pay the legal fees of his lawyers, and that's what we did. I'm glad that's behind us. When President Hakainde Hichilema, on the other matter, accused President Lungu of using and abusing state institutions to harass him as an opposition leader, and he kept on saying he had been arrested for 15 times. When we went to elections, President Lungu was punished for many things other than political cadreism. It were things like that, arrogance, issues of corruption. President Lungu was punished. So to see a new president repeat the same mistakes that he used to complain about, begin to erode institutions, the very institution that he used to condemn, to begin to abuse institutions that we thought he could not, to begin to practice the very things he condemned. He condemned that there was tribalism in that government. And for him to practice tribalism to even a higher level, that is a great disappointment, not just to me, to many Zambians. The purpose of going to an election is like to give yourself a blank slate and start afresh. Avoid the mistakes of the past. I will not stand here and defend the mistakes of the PF. Zambians punish the PF for their mistakes. If President Edgar Lungu, if President Hakainde Hichilema continues to repeat the mistakes that Zambians rejected in 2021, they will also show him the foot. There is a standard Zambians want. They want a thriving democracy. In the manner we are talking, no harassment, no nothing, no arrest, there should be no consequences. They want the opposition to exist freely as an alternative to provide checks and balances to this government. We should not be treated like criminals. The law enforcement agencies should not just look at the past corruption. There are too many acts of large-scale corruption in this government that remain unattended to. The law enforcement agencies are not even bothering to look at it. I personally, Aka, I have reported these acts of corruption to the SEC. On Monday, I'm taking another one. I'm reporting Liswaniso Gilbert to the SEC because he admitted on Hot FM that the Chinese.
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a very simple question. You are now admitting that the PF government was interfering in the operations of law enforcement agencies in Zambia. Is that true?
What I have admitted and at all public forum is that the PF made mistakes.
No.
And I've said the PF lost.
Now, let's be specific. I'm being very specific. You are saying they made mistakes. You're generalizing. What I'm saying is that did the PF interfere in the workings of law enforcement agencies and incarcerated then President?
I don't know about that. I can tell you I don't know about that.
But you wrote about it.
Voters, Aka, form their opinions on perceptions. If an established perception emerged that PF was corrupt, a voter will not wait for evidence. If in the mind of the voter the PF is corrupt, the voter will make a decision.
Right.
If the voter thinks that the PF was interfering in public institutions and law enforcement agencies, it doesn't matter the evidence that is there. They will.
Ambassador, you said the PF made mistakes. What I'm asking you is, what mistakes did the PF make?
So when the PF lost power, they did an independent postmortem report to inform them why they had lost power and to provide solutions to the future. And that postmortem report, which I agree with, identified a lot of weaknesses and mistakes. Issues of corruption were raised. Issues of arrogance of leaders was raised. Issues of political violence in by-elections and issues of cadreism was raised. It is known why the PF lost power. There was even an issue of the economy. The economy was biting. Remember, we're coming from COVID and the economy was at negative for the first time in 30 years in 2020. Although it had rebounded in 2021 and posted an economic growth of 4.5%, it was too late. Zambians had agreed that the economy was bad. PF was not being a good political party, was not being good, a ruling party. They had allowed thuggery, political violence to emerge. They had allowed the police and other institutions to be abused, and they were punished. Okay. I do not excuse the mistakes of the PF.
Thank you.
I come as someone who comes to help rebuild the PF. I come as one who comes to rebrand the PF by accepting the mistakes of the past, apologizing for those mistakes, and providing alternative solutions to President Hakainde Hichilema.
Okay, so did you at any time, because you are aspiring to lead the nation of Zambia, you are aspiring to lead the nation of Zambia by being the president of PF. The question I'm asking you is, this is the same party that they made all those mistakes that you've talked about. And so, and you were part of that, and you have apologized. You have, the question that a lot of people are asking, and a lot of viewers here asking, are saying, okay, you call them mistakes. Were they crimes that were committed then that people ought to be punished for?
Oh, it's very clear. If anyone made a mistake, if anyone committed a crime, the law is very clear. No one is above the law. We should be very clear on that. Okay. But let me answer this matter in this way. Why am I still in the PF? Well, Zambians know the PF did great works, despite those issues that I raised. They did the biggest infrastructure development we've ever done in this country in the last 40 years.
At what cost? At what cost? At what cost?
At what cost?
You just told
at a necessary cost. I can tabulate. People talk about the debt that you overborrowed, that the debt was careless. Let me tabulate. I can take you to Lusaka International Airport, and I can show you where the $400 million went. I can take you to Simon Mwansaka Pwepwe International Airport, and I can show you where the $350 million went. I can take you to the roads in Lusaka, and I can show you where the $280 million from India went. For every loan that was obtained, you can link it to a project. The UPND have borrowed $2.1 billion just in the last 1.5 years, and they've contracted a huge domestic debt. I have no idea where their money has gone. But for the PF, I can show you a school, a hospital. That is the cost. This government has been able to employ 30,000 teachers because the PF built schools. They've been able to employ 11,200 workers because the PF built the hospitals.
You should have employed.
That is the cost you want.
You should have employed those 30,000 teachers back then. Let me tell you why the UPND employed 30,000 teachers, Ambassador. The reason is simple. Because of prudent economic
because the PF built the hospital.
No.
That is the reason.
Because the government saved money. They saved money from the leakages that was happening in the last 10 years.
What leakage?
From
corruption. The exchange rate is in haywire. The exchange rate is in haywire. You are an economist. Let's start from the basics, Aka. The exchange rate within 4 months, it is one of the worst currencies in the last.
It's not.
It is. It has jumped from 16 to 20 in a period of 4 months. It's being recorded as one of the worst currencies in the world. It has come from the best performing currency.
PF left it at 25. PF exchange rate was at 25. About 25.
Aka. PF left it at 16. Okay, I've demonstrated again and again. I have even provided ABSA and Stanbic and Standard Chartered banking rates. I have provided those rates from 10th to 25th. The PF left the exchange rate at 16 kwacha. We must be very clear. Let's not argue with statistics and facts. There is a lie that they left it at 22 kwacha.
Let me tell you what
for your own information, Zambian kwacha has never reached 25 kwacha. It's 22 kwacha, almost 23 kwacha. It has never reached 25 kwacha. And that was in July, okay? But President Hakainde Hichilema found it. You can even Google just now. Found it at 15.9 on 12th, on 10th, because there was a weekend in between.
But listen,
up to the period.
Listen, Ambassador, you're using a wrong metric. Let me tell you why you're using a wrong metric. When you talk about economic performance, in which area I'm an expert, economic performance cannot be measured by an exchange rate. You measure the economic performance of the country using GDP growth rate. You use GDP growth rate. That's an accepted.
By 2021, I have just told you.
Let me finish.
Let me answer you, Aka.
Let me finish.
Aka, you can't ask a question and answer it yourself.
No. I'm changing the narrative.
The GDP.
The narrative.
Because I've heard this, especially among. No. Aka, let us be very clear. Let us be very clear. President Hakainde Hichilema has a habit. President Hakainde Hichilema has a habit of saying he found the economy negative. It was not negative. It was negative. No, come on. Just wait, Aka. Aka, are we going to have a discussion? It was in negative in 2020. There are only two economies that were in positive in 2020. China and Ethiopia. Ethiopia 1.5%. And China at 1%. The rest of the world registered negative growth, including Zambia at negative 3.5.
No, we're not talking about the whole world. We're talking about Zambia. Did Zambia respond?
Zambia in 2020. 2020 it was negative 3.5. 2021 it was positive 4.5%. It had rebounded. Okay, check. You are an economist. I shouldn't be familiar with figures than you. The only time in this country, the last 30 years, we've registered negative growth was in 2020. By 2021, our economy had rebounded. But let me go back to my point. Is that your exchange rate is haywire? You are failing to control it. You have thrown all sorts of resources there. Bank of Zambia recently released. Last year, they used $1.3 billion to try to stabilize the exchange rate.
Okay, let me ask you this.
Before that, let me just finish my thought. Let me just finish my thought so that maybe we can allow Patrick Chirupi, I see he's in the studio, that maybe he can ask me a question.
Hold on.
You have the worst economic, listen. You have the highest cost of living, literally in living memory. You have the highest cost of fuel. We've never had fuel priced at this level. You have the food.
You plan to lead Zambia. You plan to lead Zambia.
Basket.
No.
The highest we've ever had in this country.
You are an aspiring presidential candidate.
The economy is worse than parameter.
No, listen, my good comrade. You are an aspiring presidential candidate in 2026. Let us guide you as technocrats here on how you read these economic metrics. When you talk about economics, okay, you are not going to look at the exchange rate, because exchange rate is a very fluid and fluctuating metric, and it doesn't give you the real production metric of what's going on in the country. What you need to look at, you need to look at the GDP growth rate. You have to look at the trend of unemployment in the country, and these other factors, macroeconomic factors, not exchange rate. Now, when you look at the trend of the GDP growth rate, the only time GDP went up under PF was 2 years of Michael Chilufya. It went up in the next 2 years of Michael Chilufya. From there onwards, Ambassador Mwamba, I will send you the data from World Bank, from IMF, from Bank of Zambia. GDP growth rate since then has been nose diving since 2014. All the way it's been going down since then. Zambia was in recession for 5 years straight. And that is what you need to look at as an aspiring candidate for president of the Republic of Zambia. We don't want you to be misled by these economists that are saying no, economy. No, you cannot do that. Zambia's economy,
So, Aga, economic performance, their monthly reports by banks.
Let me finish.
I don't know if you subscribe. Their monthly reports by banks, they've recorded that there is reduced economic activities, and they've attributed them to a lot of things, including
there are issues that we have to look at in a very methodical way, and one of them is the economy. You admitted here that the PF government ran a very, very distressful economy. You admitted here, and I was actually applauding you for that, because that was an honest answer from you. And you told the viewers that this government, the government of President Lungu and the PF in general, made mistakes. That's a very honest. We need politics of truthfulness. And for me, for you to come on this platform and say that is very commendable of you. And what I'm asking from you is for us to be very genuine with our people.
Does Patrick have a question? I want to respond to you. I think let's welcome Patrick. Is in the studio.
I was gonna bring him because Patrick is a colleague of mine here at TV. Patrick, can you ask my good friend Ambassador Mwamba? He wants you to ask a question.
Mr. Mwamba, how are you?
My dear brother, how are you?
I'm okay. Aka, how are you?
Yes, I'm good.
Yes,
I'm good. How are
yeah,
you,
thank you for giving me the opportunity. But Mwamba, before I ask you a question, I know you're my brother. You're not from Chipata, so I'm not gonna give you so much trouble. The economy, the Zambian economy was terrible under the PF. It wasn't
far worse.
It wasn't. No, let me finish. It wasn't properly managed. A lot of leakages, corruption, which you have admitted to it, and there was so much. The economy was artificial. It wasn't real. There were a lot of people with money, but nobody knew where that money was coming from. Cadres were displaying money during campaigns. There was so much money. If you remember, what happened in Edgar Lungu's government is similar to what happened when Chiluba left the government, when Awasa took over. The economy was also artificial in the second half of MMD government. And people were complaining that Mwanawasa Ali Chibumba because there was no money in the first 5 years. But then what happened? The economy picked up. And this is exactly what this government is doing. Bamwamba, when UPND government took over, it was negative something. In 2021, the economy was in negative for about 5 years. And then the kwacha, Bamwamba, I live in the UK. I send money almost every month. 2021, the kwacha was 30 kwacha to a pound. I'm not joking. 30, it reached 30 kwacha to a pound. I can show you. I've got details. Everything is done online. If you want Bamwamba, I'm gonna take a picture. I'm gonna send it to you. I'm gonna send it to Aka. I'll remove the names of the people I send the money. It was 30 kwacha. And then it started improving. The only time the kwacha reached 18 or something to 17 to a pound is towards the election. And there was a rumor that some money was injected into the economy to cushion the kwacha so that people can vote for PF. You remember Aka that time. Mm-hmm. It was 25, 22, 20 something. And then towards the election, the kwacha was about 18 to a pound, 15 to a dollar. That was the only time. I think they must have put money there to cushion the kwacha so that they can win the election. So it's not true that the kwacha has performed so badly under the UPND. It's only the last few months the kwacha is now 24 to 25 to a pound and 20 to a dollar. But it has been low. I can tell you about 6 months ago, I sent the money to Zambia. It was 15 to 17 to a pound. We're talking of 6 months ago. And the dollar was about 13, 14, 12. You know,
Okay,
and then
thank you.
Now, Mr. Mwamba,
Thank you, Patrick. Let me answer that quickly.
Let me ask you the question. No, that was a comment. Let me ask you the
question.
Oh,
I see.
Let me ask you the question. You can comment on both. But Mwamba, you've said things were so bad in PF, and you want and the fact that HH won, you wanted things to be bad, to be good. Now there's corruption, the economy is so bad, and so forth. But Mwamba, if PF was so bad like that, how come as an ambassador you really came out with your friend Mwikita? You really hammered UPND. Why didn't you resign? Why did you stay in that government that was so bad? Because you look like now like a man of principle, a man of integrity. But in that filthy party, you stayed in there and you supported. I couldn't believe it. You know, people were saying, how come Mwamba, who is an ambassador, is hammering, every day hammering, writing articles?
So the question is, why didn't you resign?
Why didn't you resign? Where is your integrity? Where is your principle? Now you're looking like a champion.
Thank you very much.
Now. You're looking like a champion. And then the other point I wanted to make, Mwamba, you've been making a lot of comments about the due carriageway. Mwamba, the billions Zambia borrowed from the UK, the Eurobonds, do you know that is pensioners' money? That is pension scheme. It's our money. So if NAPSA was part of the syndicate to fund that road, where is it wrong? Where is it wrong? Because NAPSA is a pension fund.
It's a fund.
And their mandate is to grow that money. And the one way of growing that money is to invest in a project like that, which is going to bring cash for pensioners in Zambia. So why would you condemn that? And then the airport, there was no, this road has got a business model. There's a business model. There are syndicates. They know how to. They are going to recover the money. Those two airports you are talking about. I was in Zambia last month. The whole day I was at the airport. There were only 8 flights. How do you build such an airport without a business model? You were building an airport thinking there will be millions of travelers. How can you build an airport on assumption? You only build an airport when you know that you're going to have those millions of travelers. That's an elephant. It's a white elephant. So what investment is that? I rest my case.
Can I answer now?
Go ahead, Ambassador. Go ahead.
First of all, Patrick, you are totally mistaken. The only time the Zambian economy has registered negative economic growth was in 2020. Those are public statistics. We don't need to embarrass ourselves. At least Aka put it properly that, look, the PF found an economy almost projecting at 8-9%, and then they left it, even with a dip of negative 3.5%, although there was a rebound in 2020. So some basics, let's not argue. We've never registered a negative economic growth other than in 2020. We have to agree with that. Why didn't I resign? I've just demonstrated. First of all, I have said the PF did marvelous things, but they also did make mistakes. For me, when I do an assessment, the good outweighs the bad. They did a lot of good things. And let me just answer this issue of stated of the airport that we built a white elephant, Kaboni. But would KK have built the infrastructure he built if he was looking at that current population or at that current business model? Would KK have built Tazara and Tazama if you were looking at those numbers? The investment was for the future. There's been a model that has been done that Zambia is likely going to be an aviation hub because there's no big airport around us other than South Africa, Addis Ababa, and Ethiopia. We can take advantage of where we are, where flights can refuel from here. You have taken those flights to the US. You will refuel at some island or at the feather of Scotland where there are no people. So you cannot tell me that some investment should only make sense now. The investment is always for the future. The UPND government, the new Dawn government, is engaged in huge acts of corruption. Whether it was fertilizer, $50 million. Don't defend them, let me speak. Don't defend them, let me speak. $50 million in December. We reported to the SEC. Nothing has been done. Here, like I said, you have a Public Procurement Act of 2020 that compels any large-scale procurement should be given to Zambia. The President Hakainde Hichilema himself is on record cancelling those tenders. Even the other day, he said he has cancelled the fresh tender. That's against the law. The president, ministers have no role to play in tender processes. It is a special role of the Zambia Public Procurement Authority. Presidents and ministers, when they interfere, they can go to jail. You have a litany of cases where ministers cancelled and they appeared in court. The president is risking his own post, presidency. There are a lot of acts of corruption that are occurring, including the Lusaka and Dollar dual carriageway. But Patrick, my question is my son. The Eurobond is as a result of small savers and small pensioners pooling their resources and lending it out. I think you must have been listening. We discussed this matter very extensively. A pension fund can invest. It's for that reason that NAPSA has an investment wing called NAPSA Investment, the special purpose vehicle for investing. NAPSA already has shopping malls, properties, hotels. It has invested even in public infrastructure, such as the Livingstone bus terminals and the Kitwe Chingola dual carriageway. So I'll repeat those facts. There is nothing wrong with NAPSA lending out, there's nothing wrong with NAPSA investing anywhere. What we have objected to is the manner and structure of this deal, where they are making NAPSA as these private partners in the public-private partnership. NAPSA is lending money to them. Sorry. Let me just cut that line. NAPSA is being used as a lender. I bothered to tell Masheke that NAPSA is not a bank under the Banking and Financial Act. NAPSA, I demonstrated that NAPSA is not a money lender under the Money Lender Act. NAPSA is a public pension fund. Yes, it can invest, and it can invest, we have no doubt, but they are making it a money lender, not an investor. The public-private partnership is very simple. It's a very simple model. I am public, you are private. I give you land, do a road. Where you get your money is not my problem. You build this road for me. I give you a lease or a concession agreement of 5, 10, 15 years. No, where is our objection? Our objection is the manner. Our objection is the manner they want to make NAPSA here. But Chirufia, you are saying NAPSA is investing in this road. NAPSA is not part of the deal. We should be very clear. NAPSA is not part of the deal. The commercial agreement that has been signed is between government and Macro Ocean Limited, period. Okay. And now Macro Ocean wants to go and borrow money from NAPSA, not to Ghana, at their investment. I even proposed an alternative. I said, if you want to use the funds for NAPSA, this is my alternative. I said, task NAPSA. NAPSA will hire a contractor who will do the road, who pay that contract after 2 years they'll go. NAPSA will run the road. They can use National Road Fund Agency. They can even create a special purpose vehicle to collect tolls there.
Listen, let's correct something. But Patrick, thank you for coming. Usually these programs with high-profile people, I like to do them myself so that we have enough time to. But I appreciate you coming in and raising some of those issues. I'm going to, before I respond, I want to make sure that I give enough time for other people out there to ask some questions. Ambassador, if you indulge me, I'm going to read some questions from our viewers for you to respond to in the last 5 minutes. And I appreciate you for coming, Ambassador. You know me, you and I have done this many, many times, and I appreciate these very heated debates. And I want to make sure that we also give our viewers some time. So if viewers, we have a lot of people watching on your page, on TV Bakwetu page. A combined of over 1,000 people are watching right now. Let me go ahead and just say one thing here before Patrick. Patrick, do you have any other question?
Yes, I have.
And then I'll ask that maybe you can drop off, and that way we can finish up with the other last segment.
Yeah, but Mwamba, do you know how many companies are in this syndicate? How many financial institutions are in this syndicate? There is NAPSA, there is workers' compensation, and there is Stambik. Do you know that?
No, that's not true. That's not true.
Then
so I want to correct you quickly. You should read the minister's speech. Okay? You should read the document that was released by Ministry of Finance yesterday. And you should look at the commercial agreement that was signed. So it's government versus macro ocean, period. Macro ocean consists of these 4 Chinese companies. I was telling Aka area, I was saying, maybe there's an assumption. And I heard one minister saying, it is easier for this Chinese company to source funds from China. And I put a proviso there. I said it is not possible because Zambia and China are not enjoying good relations. You've allowed Americans to come and insult China at our State House. And I said it won't happen for 2 reasons. Number one, the bad relations that's existing at the moment. Our debt restructuring program has stalled, and you gentlemen know that, because of China. We have to resolve the issue of China. Our relationship is not at its best. Number 2, the 4 companies are state-owned enterprises. They will not lend money to you. It's not possible until you repair the relationship at the top. These are companies with boards appointed by the Chinese government. You have even the people that come here are sent by the Chinese government. These are state-owned enterprises, even they run as commercial agreements.
Okay.
As commercial entities. Number 2, the minister then announced yesterday, Honorable Musokotwane announced yesterday, which has riled and outraged Zambians, that the 4 Chinese companies will borrow from NAPSA and Workers' Compensation Fund Board. That's why Zambians are very annoyed. So why is the Zambian government speaking to NAPSA through Chinese companies?
Hold on for a second. Hold on for a second, Ambassador. What we are saying here, I want to make sure that this debate is concluded in Machulufia. Thank you for that question. I'll continue with Ambassador for the last parts of this, and I appreciate you, Machulufia, for coming through. I really want to make sure that we hit the head on the nail on this issue, on this debate. Let me go ahead and make sure that our viewers understand exactly what our ambassador and I have been discussing about. This here, I want to make it very clear to our viewers, is a typical public-private partnership. It is public-private partnership because number one, there is a government here on one side, and there's a private sector company on this side. Now, I get it what Ambassador Mwamba is saying. Ambassador Mwamba is saying, okay, macro consortium here has several entities under it. That I agree. There is AVIC here. What's the other one, Ambassador? Zenju something. There's 3 of them.
Yeah, let me read them out to you. Read them out to you. I have them here.
Yes, sir. We are going to get this correctly so that people understand that we have knowledge on what we are talking about. There is AVIC, there's 3 entities here, okay? This is a typical public-private partnership.
So there is AVIC International.
What else?
There is Zhenjiang Communications.
And
there is China Railway. China Railway.
Okay. So
yes,
we agree. This is a private company here. This is government, public. So between government and the private consortium, we have a PPP. Now, where NAPSA and Workers' Compensation Fund Board comes in is below here, okay? It's here, where this a consortium of these companies have to go and look for capital to do the road. And what these people have done is they have approached NAPSA, they have approached Workers' Compensation Fund, and many other capital markets and financials to come in and fund their project that they're doing with the government. And my bone of contention, Ambassador,
am I going to be given an opportunity to explain my side of the story?
Yes, I will. Yes, I will. I promise you that I will. So what has happened is that they have gone to borrow. Now, where they're borrowing from is where Ambassador Mwamba has a problem. Okay? Where they're borrowing, this is a private sector company that has gone to the Zambian capital market, which includes the funds, investments funds like NAPSA, Workers' Compensation, Big Bankers Investments, and that is where Ambassador has a problem. Well, we have a private partnership here that actually is going to build the road, and we are not borrowing from outside the country. Okay, this is a typical PPE model under New Dawn government, and it's an excellent one. And the people are happy that it's happening because they're going to get the road at the end of the day. Now, Ambassador, can you...
So bring the board. Bring the board near. Bring the board near. Bring the board. I speak to your board. Yeah. Thank you very much, Aka. So I am contending that this is not a public-private. This is not a public-private partnership. In fact, this is a public-public partnership with contractors in between. The Zambian government wants to use NAPSA to fund this project and have difficulties with it. Number one, NAPSA is controlled by the state. The president appoints a board through ITC, even the executive directors are appointed by the president. These are public entities. The acts of parliament from government, they are public pensioner holding our people's money. You and me is money. Can they invest? Yes, they can invest, and we've discussed that extensively. In a typical model of public-private partnership, in this case, this is a build. You build it using your own money. You operate it using your own money. Then you transfer it to the state after the lease period has ended. The use and direction of NAPSA and Workers' Compensation Fund Board, because there has been an attempt to show that NAPSA and Workers' Compensation Fund are investing in this mine, in this road. They are not, and have demonstrated that they are not.
No, you have not. You have not demonstrated anything.
And I have said, if you want NAPSA to Europe, they can, because they have the money. They can contractor who we can pay for 2 years and they go away. The normal public-private partnership is that those 4 companies should go and look for money. Besides, aren't we debt distressed? Besides, don't we have huge socio-economic issues pending? Why do you want to use our pension, risk our pension, retirement money of our people to give these unknown entities? We don't even know them. People have been saying, Ambassador, but you allowed AVIC to build in Zambia. You allowed China for them to build. The model was totally different. Under that model, it was project, just a minute, Aka, just a minute. Under that model, it was Chinese money, which is loaded with the contractor. Under project finance, it's just not China that does that. If you are getting maybe to build a power station money from Sweden, they will probably even give you a consultant. They have to do selfish interest. These companies were registered here for those purposes. They didn't come here to come and do business with your money from Treasury. It was with a selfish interest that you can access cheap financing from China. And they know the model from China is that China wants a Chinese company. They are not going to give $1 billion to an American company to do a project in Zambia. They will never do that. In this case, if you want those 4 companies, if you want those 4 companies, ACA, to be the truly private partner, let them look for money. Let them not raid our pension fund. That is our objection. If Zambian government wants to capacitate NAPSA, if Zambian government wants the pensioners fund to be secure, they should allow NAPSA. NAPSA can even hire ZNS. ZNS has the best equipment in this country. NAPSA can hire local companies. As soon as you hire those 4 Chinese companies, they are going to do their road and the profit will go to China. It will not come to Zambia. The issue of capacity, we have discussed it. Zambians can do that road. Give it to NAPSA and give it to Zambian contractors. It can work. But don't purport, ACA, don't purport that this is a PPP project when it is not. It doesn't fit in the parameters of our laws. It doesn't fit in the parameters of World Bank. Is not a PP in the manner it is structured. They want to use NAPSA as a lender to these 4 contractors who are purporting to be private sector. They built the road and they ran the road for 22 years. The details are already in public domain. I can refer you to the minister's speech.
Not so details. However,
you are being impractical because I am telling you, I am telling you that you are reporting that is a PPP. It is not a PPP. There's just government and 4 contractors. They are not private sector who look for money in this case. Then you, as President Hakainde Hichilema, you, because you appoint boards, from NAPSA, you appoint boards from Workers' Compensation Fund. You even influence the executive director should be. You have told them release $300 million and $100 million to these private contractors so that they build using our money. Then they profit for 22 years. I have demonstrated, ACA, using authorities, that the RDA did a feasibility study, Group 5 did a feasibility study. That road can generate potentially.
Hold on, Ambassador. Hold on. I don't want you to go on a tangent of talking about things that to cement a point that you have already made. What I'm trying us to understand, let's make sure that people understand. A lot of people are watching and are following you right now. What I'm saying, Ambassador, is we have a macro consortium, which is a private company registered in Zambia, which is owned by these 3 companies. And these this consortium has signed an agreement with the government. That makes it a private-public partnership.
No, it's purporting to be a PPP.
Let me finish, Ambassador. That way you can come in. What we are saying here, I'm going to ask you a very simple question. When I lend you money, and I did ask you this, when I lend you money, what is the objective of me lending you money? Is to gain interest rates. Hold on, interest. That's how funds make money. The interest that is generated when I lend you money, that interest that is generated is how I make the money. So when we say NAPSA and Workers' Compensation Fund Board are putting money in this consortium to fund the road, it's not a gift. It's not free money. This money, this consortium, let me bring Ambassador back here.
The internet is tripping, Aka.
So sorry about that. Ambassador, what I was saying is that this consortium is going to pay money with interest to NAPSA and Workers' Compensation Fund Board. That is interest that is going to go back to our people of Zambia. That is Zambians. That's what you are gaining out of this. You are gaining jobs, over 3,000 jobs. That's not what you're talking about, Ambassador. You're not telling the people that there will be 3,000 direct jobs that will be created by this project. Number two, you're not telling the people that NAPSA and the Workers' Compensation Fund and every other person that's going to put in money will gain interest out of this. That is going to come to the pensioners, to the Zambians. That is called investments. You understand what I'm saying? That is called investments. You can't just say, no, NAPSA. If we have money in Zambia to fund projects in Zambia by Zambians, why can't we do it? Why is it a crime to do it? NAPSA is doing it. Workers' Compensation Fund is doing it. They are going to gain interest after the fact. And that's called investment, sir.
Aka is very simple. No, Aka. Let's not allow government to pretend to care about NAPSA. Let those private contractors, don't direct the private contractor, the private partner, where to get money from. It's not your role. Your role as government, if you are concessioning where the partner will get money, is not your issue. You should not corruptly facilitate for NAPSA and Workers' Compensation Fund to provide these monies. Let these people go to banks. Let them go to China. Let them go to South Africa. And you will see that this is a non-starter road in the manner they've structured it. Because they have not structured it as a PPP. It should not be government interest to provide its resources. This is a public-private partnership. Government is providing resources from its entity's own baby. Okay? It is providing resources from its own baby. That is not their role. Government should ensure, number one, that the road is done. Number two, they're making money. NAPSA. NAPSA is not part of the deal.
But NAPSA is a fund. They are not contractors.
NAPSA is not part of the deal. The commercial agreement. The commercial agreement that was signed in dollar is
No. Is NAPSA a contractor?
We answered that. How did NAPSA make shopping malls?
Okay.
How did NAPSA build shopping malls? How has NAPSA built Livingstone? How did NAPSA build Kitwe Chingola Dio Carriageway?
They created a vehicle which became an investment.
No, they didn't. They simply hired contractors. They simply hired contractors to do the job. NAPSA can contract. They can use RDA to contract for them, whichever contractor. Okay, so the point, Aka, we go back to this controversial issue. is that let's not purport that this is a public
it's a
private
PPP.
partnership.
It's a
It is
PPP.
not.
Yeah.
It is not. Number two, let us make very clear.
It's a PPP.
And I can dare you on that board. You know that there's one company missing. We keep on announcing 3 companies.
PPP. I asked you a question.
Mumakro Oceans.
Is Macro owned by government of Zambia?
Mumakro Oceans Aka. Just for a joke. Mumakro Ocean Aka. Have you noticed that there's one company I'm not mentioning?
What? Which one?
I thought you'd notice. I keep on giving you 3 companies. Watch, I give you work. Which is the 4th company there?
Ambassador. It's always a pleasure.
But very simple is that NAPSA is not in the deal. As at commercial clause, let us be very clear. You and I can speak this language. As at commercial clause, there is an entity called Macro Ocean, okay, enterprises, or whatever consortium as they call themselves, that we will run this road for 22 years. That's what the commercial clause contract has provided for. So before we do the financial clause, because these guys now have to look for money, already ministers are corruptly saying NAPSA will provide the money. So before we come to the financial clause, because what we have is a commercial clause, which gives these guys guarantee that from the Zambian government, we have authority to do this road. So now give us money. So why are ministers, Honorable Msokotwane, Milupi, saying NAPSA will fund? Why are they doing that?
No.
And who says NAPSA is interested?
Ambassador, it's not the job of the minister. You are misleading people. The Minister of Finance, the Minister of Infrastructure Development didn't go to NAPSA and say fund these people. That's not what happened. That's not.
Have you been reading the last 2 days?
No. Listen, what happened?
Have you been reading the newspapers?
Ambassador, what happened is the consortium. The consortium is the one that went and sought capital for the project, and they sought capital from various funds, including NAPSA, Workers' Compensation Fund Control, and others. For you, listen, Ambassador, for you to make it not fair, it's not fair to your brother. It's not fair to your brother, Dr. Stumbeko Musokotwane. It's not. You are not being fair to your brother Charles Milupi by saying they are.
I am being very fair with them.
No.
They are the ones that have issued public statements. They didn't whisper in my ears. They issued public statements that are quoted by credible newspapers.
They are not saying what
they have said NAPSA and Workers' Compensation Fund Board will fund this road. During contracting process, these contractors in their tender documents submitted various models of how they were going to raise money. And our objections remain the same. The role of the minister, the role of the Works and Infrastructure Minister is just to ensure that he provides.
This project, the Minister of Finance, the Minister of Infrastructure Development had nothing to do with this. What you are explaining here, I told you.
If we are arguing about eggs and chicken, we'll be stuck here for the next 1 hour. No. Let us be very clear. Let us be very clear.
We are going to conclude. The micro consortium went to look for capital. When they went to look for capital,
they haven't. That's another matter. They haven't. I don't need to school you here. Look, you are an economist. I don't need to school you here. What we have is a commercial clause. Okay? A commercial clause. Government has given this contractor for the private sector 6 months so that they can come back to a financial clause. Okay,
No.
so financial clause has not been done. The commercial clause has been done. The contractors now have to go and look for money, and they've been given 6 months in which they should come back to the table and demonstrate that they have the money, and then they are going to build for 2 to 3 years.
Right. No, you're right. Let me tell you why you're right. You know why? Because the consortium went to the capital market and found they have said, look, we have these guys that can invest in this project, and these include NAFTA. These people include Workers' Compensation Fund Board, and so on and so forth. So here is the bottom line, Ambassador.
They should leave NAFTA and Workers' Compensation Fund Board out of the mess. This is not an investment. Reiterate and repeat, NAFTA is not a bank. NAFTA.
Don't worry. It's okay. It's okay. Listen, Ambassador.
Commercial.
All right.
They should not do that. If these entities want to get money from NAFTA, NAFTA should do its own due diligence. It should not be pressured by ministers or the president.
They have done the due diligence. They have done the due diligence.
They haven't, Aka. The financial clause is not here yet.
Don't worry.
They haven't done a due diligence. You only do that after your commercial agreement.
All right.
So the commercial agreement has now been done. It gives you as a tool to go and look for money. I should not be the one to educate you on this.
No. Listen, Ambassador, I want to thank you so much for your time. I want to take this time to say, look, you and I know when you come to the round table on Saturday, we debate issues here. We debate without fear, without favor. We engage each other, and this is why we are here to do. And I want to make sure that every Zambian out here understand this is how political discourse, technical issues are discussed. Okay, it's heated. We agree to disagree. That's how democracy works. And so I want to take this time to appreciate Ambassador Mwamba for coming through. He's a friend of mine. Him and I have become friends. I'm actually coming, Ambassador, I'm coming first week of April. I'll be in Zambia. I'll come and eat some unshima from at your house.
Your sister will cook for you. Your sister will cook for you. She'll do the tappy for you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. No, thank you, Ambassador. I really appreciate you. If you can stay in the background, that way I can wrap it up with you in the background.
Okay. Now let me say my last remarks.
Yes, please.
Let me say my last remarks.
I was going to.
So, Aka, thank you very much for the opportunity that has been given to me to express my thoughts about this. I think you gave me more than 1 hour. In fact, you've given me over 2 hours to discuss this matter. I'm grateful. For sure, you hold that this is a PPP genuine, and you hold it that NAPSA is genuinely funding this process as an investment. I respect that. And I think you have bothered to hear my concerns that the structure of the deal is very bad, is extremely bad for NAPSA. NAPSA is being used just as a tool to finance people that will profit for 2 years. I've demonstrated here that this road has capacity to raise $100 million a year, and I've cited various authorities, the RRDF feasibility study, Group 5 feasibility study, and the recent document I published from Parliament that is already giving you the amount of money that the Zambian government is raising from public tolls. It's almost $120 million a year. So our objection to this road is not to deter or to stop development. There is an urgent need to do the Lusaka-Ndola dual carriageway. This road has become a death trap. It's our busiest economic road. It should be done. Our objection to it are the methods that is being used and the threat that is there to our pension fund in the manner that is done. We want development. Our role is to support President Hakainde Hichilema. If he succeeds, Zambia succeeds. If he fails, I might take glory, but Zambia loses. Our role is to ensure that he succeeds. So thank you for the opportunity, and thank you to your dear audience, Bakwetu, and I'll follow it in the background. God bless you, and God bless our country.
Thank you so much, Ambassador. Viewers, that was the last words from the Ambassador. I appreciate him. I appreciate you guys for being here. Thank you so much. Again, like we have said, you know, we might not meet eye to eye. I believe strongly that this is the best option we have, given the economic distress that Zambia has. And I hope that this road, again, as Ambassador said, can save our people and in the economic dispensation. So on this note, I bid you farewell and have a blessed, blessed night, and good night.
Thank you very much.